Hi y'all, in this video movie I'm going to start right up here at the top, work my way down, and this video is about two things essentially. It's about oiling and greasing the parts and pretty much showing all the parts that have to be oiled and greased, and it's also going to talk about showing the plastic parts and the steel parts, like gears for example. So that's where this video starts right now, right here, and it's about a half hour long, and we're gonna start with this, with the top, kind of describe all the pieces up here and in here, and the plastic ones and the steel ones. Then we'll work our way down, to the bed and underneath the bed where the driving rods are. Then we'll go to the far end where the needle bar and the presser bar and the presser bar tension screw and all that stuff are. So we're going to talk about a lot of things, not only just oiling and greasing, but we'll talk about the whole darn machine. And so this is where we're starting. Hope you enjoy it. Hope this is helpful for you. If you're looking to learn about these machines, you'll learn some stuff here this evening right now. Thanks for stopping in to visit. Now right here is a spring, and right down here behind that spring is a plastic cam stack right down there. We'll look at it from another angle. Now I'm going to show you this right here is the cam stack, the stitch cam stack, and it's plastic. It's got all those plastic rings on it, all those plastic cams on it, compared to the vintage sewing machines like the 401, etc., where it was a steel cam stack, where we would remove the steel cam stack and clean and oil 6 or 7 discs that were piled on top of each other. These are plastic. They don't necessarily have to be taken apart and cleaned like the steel ones did. So I wanted to show you that. There's also some more plastic gears, toothed wheels, more precisely maybe, right down here. And then we've got the stitch control, which actually works in tandem to change the stitches on the cam stack. So there's a bunch of plastics there. Of course we have the plastic gear here with the rubber or whatever drive belt that runs down from this horizontal arm shaft down to the rigging below, to the steel gear at the other end of this rubber belt, which is down at the bottom, which we'll see a little bit later. So there's a pile of plastic there. Now when starting to talk about plastic gears, this is a great place to start, because here's a small geared plastic wheel that comes off this end of the motor of the engine and goes all the way up, and it goes all the way up to this big kind of heavy duty plastic hand wheel, balance wheel. Here's the toothed belt on the toothed plastic gear. There's also a bit of plastic here for the, oops, we can't see that yet. Yes, we can. Right here. There's also a bit of plastic for the bobbin winder apparatus. And then here we have the stitch selector dial, which is made out of plastic as well. The rest of the upper plastic gear or equipment are these switches, these dials, to position the needle, center, right, left, or to change the tension. So looking at those 3 dials from up here, we see there's the stitch selector dial, and that's all your different stitches and your straight stitch and your zigzag and all that. There's the needle position dial, and there's the tension dial. Of course there's a little bit of a plastic bracket there, and then the presser tension screw, it's plastic as well. So that describes a lot of most of the plastic on the machine actually. because it's pretty much, except for one or two pieces, pretty much all upper machine, you know, close to the horizontal arm shaft. What we're going to look at next here is a bushing, and I'm going to show you what's really important. So we'll get a little closer up to that so you can see what I'm referring to, what I'm talking about. As you know, as part of the maintenance schedule, we also oil the bushings. This is the bushing on the horizontal arm shaft going towards the presser bar and the needle bar, all that end. And if you look carefully at this bushing, there's a little fiber sponge there, and there's one there. And when you oil this bushing, you want to make sure that you get the oil, a drop or whatever, on that fiber sponge and that fiber sponge. Actually, it's probably called a wick, a fiber wick, a fiber oil wick. And so we're going to make sure in all of these bushings on this machine that we find those little wicks. They're normally, like this one, close to the top. We're not going to be able to find them underneath. Even if they were there, we wouldn't be able to see them. Now, on this bushing, which I'm going to oil, I can't see a fiber wick to put the oil. So, in general, I'm just going to put a drop of oil right on top of the very high point of the bushing, and then where the axle goes into the bushing as well, the horizontal arm shaft axle. This is a dark colored gear. It may be metal, it may be plastic. I'm speculating it's not plastic because it's not white like all the other plastic on this machine. But I can't say 100% that it's steel, but I think it might be. And there's also a bushing here. This is going to be greased. The teeth, or the cuts on in the gear here, they're going to be greased. This is going to be oiled, and we'll see if there's any wicks on that. Let me rotate the hand dial, the balance wheel. No, and that's screwed on there pretty good, pretty tight. It may not even require oil, but you know what, I'll throw a drop on there just to keep it tidy. So those are the kind of main things, or the important things. While we're up here, when we get to this end, while we're up here, when we get to this end, I'm going to oil in there, and I'm going to make sure that I get a drop of oil in here, probably let a drop of oil drop down there, and I'm going to definitely get a drop of oil up here and up there because it's steel to steel, and we want to oil that. It doesn't have to be done every day, you know, probably maybe like with the amount of sewing that I'm doing right now, maybe only once a year, maybe a couple times a year, you know. But if there's too much oil, it'll drip down, and I'll end up having to wipe it off or clean it. So that's fine. Okay, that's okay too. The other thing I want to mention is that we're in a good position to do the counterweight on this end of the horizontal arm shaft. So let me see if I can get in. Well, we can see it pretty good there, I think. Well, no, we can't because it's right behind this. Okay, so here's this end of the horizontal arm shaft by the presser bar and the needle bar, and that's the counterweight. And there's a couple of screws on there. And I also look for any joints or points of contact, like right down here. And I'm going to oil down there. I don't know if I can get any oil in there, but I'll throw a drop there. I'll throw a drop there too. I'll definitely throw a drop on there. And down in here, just at the bottom of the take-up lever, it's steel on steel, chrome on steel. And that'll be the very top of kind of the needle bar end, the presser bar end. The rest of the oiling we'll be able to do from inside the door on the needle bar and the presser bar, which we'll see in a minute. Now, in this video, it's mainly a video about oiling and greasing the parts of this machine. What we're looking at right now is one of the larger plastic pieces in this machine, which is a plastic stitch cam stack. And if you're familiar with vintage machines, which I know a number of you are, many of you are, in vintage machines like the 401, it's not positioned like that. This is like a horizontal positioning. In the old 401 vintage, it's rotated 90 degrees so that these discs are vertical as opposed to horizontal. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 discs, and they're all plastic, and they don't need to be greased or oiled or anything like that. Wherever they're going to meet up with some grease and oil eventually anyway. But I wanted to let you know that, this is a video about oiling and greasing, but as part of oiling and greasing, we have to know what the parts are or realize where they are in order to decide what gets oiled or greased or what doesn't, and where we can find them. So this is a bit of an exploration. Like I say, this is the first time I've taken all the covers off and ended up with a naked heavy-duty Singer sewing machine. And but it's going to be really interesting because we're going to learn a lot about how these things are put together and built, and exactly why they are very truly heavy-duty sewing machines. Having said that, I want to be very clear. This is a domestic sewing machine. It is not an industrial sewing machine. Because it is a heavy-duty domestic sewing machine, it does not mean it's a semi-industrial sewing machine either. The definition is very precise. This is a domestic sewing machine for personal use in your house, probably. I'm sure they have them in schools and some businesses where they're making lighter, making things out of lighter materials where they can use these. But I just want to be very clear about that. These are not semi-industrial and they're not industrial, even though it's heavy duty. So there's no confusion on that score. There you go, I said it. So that's pretty much the top part of the machine. Next we'll go down below decks. We'll go underneath, down at the bottom, both upright and turn it upside down, sideways as well. And we'll check on how much plastic is down there. And we'll check on how much metal parts are down there as well. So that kind of finishes up our topside work here right now. Here is the back side of the machine, and the picture explains the back side fairly well. Now here we get to the front side and the front end of the machine. Here we can see the needle bar and the pressure bar back there, and all these things are going to need to be oiled. Down here we have the bobbin case where the hook is, and here's some of the connecting driving rods that are going to have to be oiled as well. Here's a face forward look at the machine a little bit from above, and we'll turn the machine upside down or get underneath and take a little look down there. Here we are at the bottom of the machine, and as you can see, there's not much plastic down here. It's all pretty much metal. The only little bit of plastic that we see down here is this plastic spacer, but the gears and the worm gear, steel. The bushings, steel. Steel, steel, lots of steel, lots of metal. Okay, first of all I'm going to grease a couple of places down here from this angle. Put some on that gear, then rotate it a little bit. Put some more on. A little bit goes a long way, because as the machine works it'll warm up and the grease will kind of navigate and spread out in all these fins once they get working away. And you know, that gear is matching up with the worm gear behind, so that worm gear will help spread it on these fins, and then these fins will spread some onto the worm gear that it mates with. So everywhere should eventually get some. Now that I know how these things are built for convenient access for maintenance, I'll be able to come down here a couple of times a year, maybe once a year even, but a couple of times a year just to check it out. I'm going to put a little more grease. Then we'll take it round. Put some more on there. There's another new bit. So I think between these gears mating up, we've got enough grease on there. The next spot I'm going to put some grease is right here on this contraption. Let me raise this up a bit. You betcha. And I'll put some right in there on the inside of that U-shaped thing. And I'll rotate the hand wheel. I'll get some more on the round bearing that's in there. Now I think here and here is all the grease I need. I think the rest of it is going to be oil. Let me put the cap on the grease, put a lid on it. And so to start with, I'm going to start here, go there, there. I'll start here and leave it at that. So there's some oil on that. The next place I'm going to go is this fiber wick right here. This fiber wash, well geez, you can't see, I'm on the other end here. Let me get lined up a little here and focused in. So the wick is right there. So I'll squeeze some oil onto that. And I'll rotate the hand wheel a bit. So now I've gone about 180. So I'll put some on there. What else do I see? Okay, I see a couple of spots down here at this end. Like right there. And there. And here. And I've got this wick here. We'll get some on there. I'll put some oil on there. And there. On that bushing there. I'm going to set it upright again. I'm not sure if you missed that or not. I think I might have missed it. This thing right here, it slides up and down. So I've already greased it. You can actually see grease on it still. And I've got grease on the outside of the contraption there too. So lots of grease. But where I want to oil now is kind of at the top of the screen. Right here there's a metal joint, rotating metal joint. And then right here is another one. So I'll get the middle part, and I'll do the end where it connects there. I think that's about it for there. Now I'm going to come in here and do the needle bar, and it's contact points where it slides. And there's a few of them. Right on here I'll get this one too. Right up there. So it's all sounding pretty smooth on the rotation. I just found another spot that I want to get right down there. We probably can't see it, but I'm going to get it while I see it there. Good enough. No matter. I am going to put a little bit here on this threaded part of the pressure bar tension screw. There. I rotated a little bit, not much. I don't want to take it all apart. Now I want to make sure that I get that gear there. There. That's good enough there. Now I do want to go back in there and drop some oil on that bushing. There, I got it. Fair enough. Now I want to come and oil down here, so I got to turn the machine around. I'll get right back to you. Okay, right here is where we see the cloth, the fiber wicks there. There's one there. Boom. And there's one there. Boom. We'll rotate the wheel. I'm going to put a little bit of oil there while I'm here. And there too. Here's a point of contact here that moves, so I'll put just a little bit. Put some there. Where else? That's about it. I think I've pretty much done the machine. So that's where we're going to end up this time. Hope this was helpful to you. I'm going to put a little bit of oil right here, right up there. So that's how we're able to take the covers off, get the machine bare naked, figure out that why it is heavy duty, because it is. There's steel gears, there's plastic gears, there's a plastic cam stack, and there's a lot of metal parts on the presser bar, the needle bar, and the ring underneath, the hook driving rod, and the feed dog driving rods as well. Of course, we got the horizontal arm shaft up top. So we've done a pretty good job. This is the second time I've done an oiling and greasing on this, so if you've been watching the last 2 or 3 videos, I think it was the third one back now, was oiling and greasing as well. So there's, not to brag, but there's some good information here. Anyway, have fun with your machines, and my next video will show me putting the covers back on, getting it all back together as it is originally, and then I'll be ready to start sewing with it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for visiting. And remember, it's very important that we stay safe and have lots of fun. And please do subscribe. Thank you kindly. And for now, I'll say adios, amigos.